Corey Blackwell, he's 6'2". Kendall Blunt, 6'5". And then you have the freshman, Keyshawn Griffin, who's another 6'5" player. So both of these starting lineups match up well when you're talking about height and athleticism.
So we're all set for the tip here. Obviously, Wildwood Catholic in the road blue, St. Joseph in the home white, and the tip goes to Wildwood Catholic as Caleb Fields sets the offense up top. Gets a pass over to Jaleel White. It's like St. Joe coming out in a matchup zone look on defense as Catholic works it into Thweet, and now back up top to Caleb Fields. Circling around top of the key, over to White. White probes, dribbles, trying to go to Capizzoli down low, and a nice job down there by Keyshawn Griffin tying it up and forcing the jump ball.
Well, that's one thing. Now you're going to see the sophomore, Jaleel White, over-penetrating right there, comes to a jump stop, but then he kind of made a bad decision in giving the ball to Capizzoli. He really couldn't do anything with it. St. Joe's recognizes, doubles down, ties him up. That's a turnover.
Wildwood Catholic coming out in a man-to-man look, and another turnover here, and this is a traveling violation going against Demetrius Parrish, so not the start either team wanted, as we have back-to-back turnovers to start this one tonight in Hamilton.
And that one right there, obviously right out front, that's an unforced turnover. But as you said, Mike, 2 possessions, each team turning it over on their first possession.
Catholic a little trouble with the entry pass there, knocked out of bounds though by St. Joe, so the Crusaders will inbound under their own hoop. No score, almost a minute into this one, and they get it into Caleb Fields just inside midcourt. Now down low to Capizzoli. Capizzoli power dribble up and in for the first points of the ball game.
And that time, Wildwood Catholic doing a good job. They go to the left side. White with the ball beyond the arc. Capizzoli doing a good job down that left block of creating space. He gets the ball, uses the glass, and Wildwood Catholic's on the board.
Here's St. Joe trying to return the favor here. It's Blackwell in the corner, up top to Ross. Little bump out there, and the officials are going to call it. They're going to get Chuck Fields, as he may be a little overly aggressive early on. Got Ross with the body, and the Wildcats will inbound right around midcourt.
Yeah, and right there, and again, they're going to try and set the tone early, are the officials, and they're going to call that.
And it looks like Ross stepped on the line here. Tough from our vantage point, obviously. It's very similar to the gym, the court there and there at Wildwood Catholic. Not a lot of room around it. Some of the angles are a little tight, especially for video, but that time Ross stepping on the line. Here's Wildwood Catholic. High pass. Caught, though, by Caleb Fields. Double team for a moment. Tries to circle back up top. He's checked by Ross. Now over to Capizzoli. Chuck Fields slicing through off the glass way too hard. Capizzoli with the rebound. And he's fouled, looks like on the way back up. So Matt Capizzoli, the senior buddy, one of those guys that's been in the varsity rotation for a couple of years now, but now his senior year, he's a starter and he's getting some huge minutes.
Yeah, and Matt Capizzoli is one of those guys that's really bought into his role in the team. He works hard in the offseason. He hits the weight room, and he gives Wildwood Catholic. He's one of those guys a lot of coaches talk about. If he was playing on any other team, in particularly say Cape May County, he'd be what you would consider maybe a star type player.
Capizzoli 1 of 2. He has all 3 points tonight so far. Here's Ross quickly the other way. His shot too hard. Rebound taken down though by Griffin. And now we have a foul called on the play, as the Wildcats wasting no time trying to get on the board there. And it'll be free throws. 2 of them coming up for Keyshawn Griffin, one of those freshmen. And there's a few of them, buddy, that sees big-time varsity action this year.
Yes, and we had talked about that in the pregame. There's 4 freshmen that are on this roster that dress and will get time here tonight. And obviously you can see right now, Keyshawn Griffin on the line. He missed that first free throw.
Second one also no good, so still no points for St. Joe here. We're almost 2 minutes into this ball game. Here's Thweet in the corner behind the back dribble, a little bit wild there, and a steal as Blunt comes up with the basketball. Now here's Blackwell to Parrish. Parrish dips in. That ball comes loose, and scramble for it in front of the Catholic bench. Let's see what the call is. It looks like the basketball will go back to Wildwood Catholic. So good hustle there from the Crusaders on defense, forcing yet another St. Joe turnover here just over 2 minutes into this game.
That's the 3rd turnover against the Wildcats here in the early going, Mike. They've only gotten 1 field goal attempt off In the first 4 possessions, turning it over 3 times. You know, Coach Paul Rodeo is not happy with that.
His father, Paul Rodeo Sr., obviously honored before the game, just reached 900 career wins the other night for St. Augustine as his Hermits beat Egg Harbor Township. Nice ceremony there before the game started as Catholic tracks down the offensive rebound. So reset here for the Crusaders as Chuck Fields trying to crab dribble in there is knocked away. And it looks like we have another turnover here, this one going against Wildwood Catholic as St. Joe will have the basketball, still looking for its first points of the game.
And that's going to be the 3rd turnover against Wildwood Catholic as well. Each team now with 3 turnovers. We've got 5:15 to play in the opening quarter. It's Wildwood Catholic on top 3-0.
Here's Ross with the basketball, checked by Chuck Fields. Gives it off to Demetrius Parrish, and now over to Corey Blackwell. Starters on the court for both teams still. Back to Blackwell. Sizes up his defender, dips in for a moment, now kicks to the side there. That's Griffin going hard to the hoop, but shut down on the inside, and now here's Caleb Fields the other way. Down low to Chuck Fields, thought about a shot. Now they work it around the outside. Here's Caleb Fields for 3, and he knocks it down. First triple of the ball game belongs to Caleb Fields. Quickly back the other way, that's Ross. His shot no good. Battle for the rebound down low, as that was a battle between Griffin and Taj Thweet, and it goes off of Griffin, and Wildwood Catholic will have the ball again, up 6-0.
And right there, that time Ross came down. He had a pretty good look, but the shot did not go. And as you called it, Thweet and Parrish went up to try and get that rebound, but it did not happen.
Here's a miss by Caleb Fields. Again, quickly the other way as St. Joe still looking for its first points of this ball game. We have a kick ball here. So it'll stay with the Wildcats. 4:14 to go, opening quarter, 6-0 Wildwood Catholic. Crusaders come in 11-0, a big win over Haddonfield on Saturday. St. Joe 10-2, coming off a win over Lower Cape May. There's Ross from the corner. That one won't go down. And the Crusaders want to run, but a turnover as Thweet was looking for Chuck Fields ahead of the pack, but those two just not on the same page there as we have our first substitute of the ball game. And it's that 6th man we talked about, Jacob Hopping, checking in for Wildwood Catholic, the Holy Spirit transfer, as he checks in for Matt Capizoli. St. Joe bringing it across the timeline. That's Corey Blackwell over to Ross. Ross jacks up a 3, and that one is long. Rebound comes down to Taj Thweet, who rips it away. And here goes Wildwood Catholic again. Here's White circling around, now back up top to Hopping. Over to Caleb Fields. Again, bound for Bowling Green next season. Back up top to Jaleel White. St. Joe still in this zone look on defense. White pulls up, his shot off back iron. Thweet with the rebound. His shot hits the back iron. Still a battle for the rebound. That ball goes out of bounds. And Wildwood Catholic will keep it. So the Crusaders, buddy, crashing the offensive glass right now.
And that was one of the things Coach Paul Rodeo talked about. He did not want to give Wildwood Catholic second and third opportunities to score the basketball. He said his team had to do a better job boxing out.
Blaine Roselle just checking into the game, going up strong. He's fouled, so he'll go to the line to shoot 2. Senior off of the bench for head coach Dave DeWeese, also a substitute for St. Joe. As checking in is Sean Morris, key player on the undefeated St. Joe football team this last season, big junior down low. As first free throw is no good there from Roselle.
And Morris picks up his first personal foul, second team foul against the Wildcats.
Roselle's second shot up and good. So a point off of the bench for Blaine Roselle. And Wildwood Catholic still pitching a shutout right now, 7-0. As St. Joe tries to get something going on offense here. Here's Ross. They switch on him defensively. His shot no good, but he's fouled on the play. And it looks like they'll get Blaine Roselle. And Ross will go to the free throw line with a chance to shoot 2.
And that foul, as you said, called on Blaine Roussel. That's going to be his first, team's third. And the junior for the Wildcats, Ross, will go to the line to shoot 2. Trying to get the first points on the board.
And that one off back iron. No good. Ross will have another. Again, just a junior, but already reaching 1,000 career points this season. One of the top guards in the Cape Atlantic League and in South Jersey. Second shot is good, so there is the first point of the game for the Wildcats. It took them over half the quarter to get it, but 7-1 right now as Ross knocks one down. Little pressure defense here by St. Joe, and looking to poke that ball away from behind. He did, Keyshawn Griffin, but out of bounds, so it'll stay with Wildwood Catholic. Another sub into the game as Joe Enwergi checks in for the first time for Paul Rodeo Jr.
Tell you what, Keyshawn Griffin, the 6'5" freshman, showed a lot of quickness coming up from behind and almost came up with that steal.
Catholic working the ball around the perimeter. Now here is a steal, and it's Blackwell the other way. Blackwell to the corner for Ross, Marcellus Ross. He can't get it to fall from the outside, but an offensive rebound to the Wildcats. Another wild three off the mark. Ross down low, still alive down there, and that time it was Joe E, as they call him out here at St. Joe, and Joe Enwergi will get a chance to go to the line to shoot two. So we talked about Catholic crashing the glass a few possessions ago. That time, way to stick with it there from St. Joe, as it's going to pay off with a couple free throws.
Yeah, and again, that was, not only was that a second and third, that was a fourth opportunity. And St. Joe's doing a great job, as you said, crashing the glass. Wildwood Catholic not boxing out at all.
First free throw is in for Joe Enwergi. As Capizzoli checks back in for Wildwood Catholic. 7-2 here, 2:37 to go, opening quarter. Second free throw also good, so 2 quick points off of the bench for Joe E. 7-3, Catholic on top as St. Joe extends that press a little bit, three-quarter court, I'd say. And here comes across the timeline the Crusaders. Capizzoli looking for Hopping. Hopping wasn't ready for it, but it's saved for a moment, but right to Ross. Ross hard to the bucket and good. First field goal of the game for Marcellus Ross. And that one has to feel good as he missed his first few field goal attempts.
Now St. Joe comes back after trailing 7-0 with 5 straight. And I was wondering how long it was going to take Coach Dave DeWeese, because he is not happy with anything that his team's doing right now in this first quarter.
Mike Frankel and Buddy Tarbonne here with you in Hamilton for the Ulmer's Appliance Game of the Week. Matt Ulmer providing live video as always tonight. Buddy, is this a good time? I know we have people watching around the globe, right? The World Wide Web. I know you have to get some hellos in. Let's get them out of the way.
Absolutely. And hey, we're going to take it. We're going to head south down to Savannah State University to give a shout out to Lauren Fields and her mom, Kelly Boyd Fields, the mother and sister of Charles and Caleb, who are out here playing tonight. Lauren had some type of medical procedure performed today down there. She came out of it well, so she's going to be back on the court for next year. So we'd like to give a nice shout out to Lauren and her mom, Kelly Fields. So glad to hear everything's going well down there. And then also, we have someone listening in Kosovo, Best Kicker, who's the main man at Bobby D's Arcade, and also can be found at the Attila's Gym on Maple and Pacific Avenue in Wildwood. So we got people listening from all over, and we're going to get to the Jet family. They're all over the United States, those Wildwood Catholic graduates. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
You are well connected across the globe, my friend. We'll say some more hellos in a little bit, but right now coming out of the timeout, it's Wildwood Catholic. Close ball game all of a sudden, just up by 2. Here's Caleb Fields. St. Joe scrambles on defense, and another one of those unforced turnovers. Certainly the Wildcats were speeding the Crusaders up, but that one should have been caught down low, and Chuck Fields frustrated with himself right now.
And that's the 7th turnover here in the first quarter against Wildwood Catholic. 7 turnovers. That is very un-Crusader-like. And as you said, that one was unforced.
Pass deflected down low. Ian Brown tracks it down, who's just fresh into the game here for Paul Rodeo Jr. Ross, pull-up jumper baseline, no good. Brown with the rebound. His short shot off the window won't go. Tipped up and in, though, by Joe Enwergi. So we're tied up here at 7 with 1:30 to go, opening quarter. Here's Wildwood Catholic across midcourt. Capizzoli trying to dip in, but there's a turnover. Pass ahead of the pack to Ross, and Marcellus Ross lays it in. And St. Joe has its first lead of the ball game, and Dave DeWeese wants to talk about it again. Timeout, Wildwood Catholic, 9-7, St. Joe all of a sudden on top.
Well, and again, now St. Joe on a 9-0 run. Again, after trailing 7-0, St. Joe causing turnovers. Wildwood Catholic has now turned it over 8 times. So we haven't played a full quarter yet. We've played actually 6 minutes and 46 seconds, and the Crusaders continue to turn the ball over. And then what are the Wildcats doing? They're coming down and scoring in transition, and obviously that's going to help your shooting percentage when you come into the game and you're a little off. Marcellus right there getting Marcellus Ross right there getting a easy bucket, putting his squad up for the first time.
Out of the timeout, Caleb Fields into the lane. His shot is short, and the rebound comes down to St. Joe and Griffin, but that ball tipped away at midcourt. The officials looking at one another, and it looks like the basketball will stay with St. Joe. So 1 minute to go here, opening quarter. St. Joe basketball, a chance to add to their 2-point lead.
That last rebound was the first defensive rebound of the quarter for the Wildcats. And reason being, when you turn it over 8 times, defensive rebounds aren't happening because shots aren't going up.
That's exactly right. Joe Umasella into the game for the first time for the Wildcats. Here's Morris on the low block, a bulldozer down there. And they're going to wave off the bucket and say the foul occurred on the floor. Doug Hiltner with the call down there. And it looks like they'll get Jaleel White for the foul as Morris really threw his weight right into him. A good aggressive move down low from Sean Morris. St. Joe basketball, 49 seconds to go. It'll be Ian Brown with the trigger here, looking for a man. That ball poked away right in front of Dave DeWeese. And it looks like Jacob Hopping got a finger on the basketball, so it'll stay with St. Joe. And now Brown will move to the side and try to inbound there. Gets it in easier this time to Joe Umasella up top. Now back to Brown. And over to Joe and Wergy. Dangerous pass. Now here's a 3-ball on the way and good as Joe Umasella knocks down the triple.
Well, that's what happens. Caleb Fields won for the steal, didn't get it. Umasella, give him a lot of credit. He recognized, got his feet set, knocked down that big 3-ball. Now the Wildcats on a 12-0 run.
Taj Thweet triple teamed on the inside, still able to catch that basketball, and he's fouled. As Thweet and Morris have some friendly words for one another here. We mentioned this is really one of those budding rivalries in the Cape Atlantic League. These teams have been playing each other for quite some time, but they've both been, quite frankly, pretty good for the last few years, and these games have really mattered.
And Wergy picks up his first, team's third against St. Joe.
Here's White. White penetrates. He loses the handle, and now here's a steal by St. Joe. It's Umasella. Umasella on the break. Pass down low to Joe E. And then Wergy able to cash in again. He has 6 points here. 10 seconds to go. Opening quarter. Hopping almost lost it. Catholic needs to get a shot off here. Here's White in the corner. Defended well, and we have a foul on the play as they're going to get Keyshawn Griffin reaching in. But all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, buddy, 14-7. St. Joe on top of Wildwood Catholic. 2.4 seconds to play with here as the Crusaders try to get a look before the quarter ends.
Well, again, turnovers by Wildwood Catholic lead to transition buckets for St. Joe. Therefore, it's a 14-0 run.
Into Fields, his shot won't go. And that's how we'll end the first quarter. So it was all Wildwood Catholic early, 7-0. Now all of a sudden, 14-7, St. Joe on top. Certainly the Wildcats football team used to a score like that, but based on the way this game started, a little surprising to see St. Joe back into the game, not only so quickly, but now out to a 7-point lead after one.
Well, again, when you look at the stat sheet too, Mike, it's quite easy. Wildwood Catholic's 2 for 9 from the floor. They're 1 for 5 inside the arc, 1 for 4 from beyond. They had 6 rebounds as a team, 3 offensive, 3 defensive, 1 for 3 from the foul line. But the big number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 turnovers in 8 minutes. And of those 9 turnovers, say 4 or 5 came maybe in that last 3-minute stretch when St. Joe won on that run, because they didn't score until there was almost 3 minutes left in the quarter. So they went on that run based on that bunch of turnovers the Crusaders committed. They got easy transition baskets. A 14-0 run to end the quarter. When it was looking lopsided one way, now Coach Paul Rodeo's got to be very happy. On the other hand, Coach Dave DeWeese has got to be fit to be tied right now.
Wildwood Catholic, the last undefeated team in the traditional South Jersey area. Again, 11-0, and obviously getting each team's best shot night in, night out right now. St. Joe Again, 10-2, and both of these teams not only jockeying for positioning in the Cal United Conference, but also in the South Jersey non-public B playoffs with under 2 weeks to go until the deadline, buddy. The cutoff, if you will. Wildwood Catholic fixed for a high seed right now. St. Joe trying to help its stock. As we're underway in the second quarter, again, Catholic down 7 as it's Capizzoli up top. Cross-court pass to Thweet. Thweet, good aggressive move, but it rims out on him, and Morris hauls down the rebound. Turnover. Caleb Fields in, count the basket, and 1. So a huge boost there as Caleb Fields cashes in to start the second quarter.
And Sean Morris whistled for that foul. And again, St. Joe's, that time, they were sloppy with the ball. They turn it over. Fields comes up with the steal. And bang, what's he do? He goes right to the basket, gets contact, draws that foul. Morris picks up his second, 15th foul. Now Fields at the line with the opportunity for the three-point play the old-fashioned way.
And he knocks it down. So quick 3 points there from Caleb Fields. And here we have another turnover, as they're going to say that one went off of St. Joe, or are they? Yes, they are. So Doug Hiltner with the call in the corner. And it'll be Catholic basketball once again, and that was Caleb Fields forcing that turnover. They try to get it in. There's a steal now, though, and here's St. Joe the other way. Quick 3 on the way from Ross. His shot is long. Rebound battled for. As St. Joe player was flying out of bounds there. That was Joe Inwergi. And it'll be Wildwood Catholic basketball. Jacob Hopping back into the game here for Catholic. He checks in for Capizzoli.
And Inwergi did a good job. That was, long rebound, floorboard, but he couldn't get to it. He stepped on the end line. So the ball does go back to Wildwood Catholic. Marcellus Ross struggling here from the floor. He's now 2 of 9. He's 0 for 4, Mike, from beyond the arc.
St. Joe still with the lead, though. Here's White for 3, and that one is all net. So Jaleel White knocks down the triple, his first points of the ball game. St. Joe quickly the other way. Parrish in the corner, into Joe E in the lane, and that has to be a walk, and it is. As he lost his balance, the old pull the chair out from behind you there. Thought he had a body behind him, but Wildwood Catholic, smart play as they sort of pulled off and forced the turnover.
And now here we go. It was 14-7. Now it's 14-13. Wildwood Catholic on a 6-0 run. That's the second turnover of this quarter. We haven't played a minute yet against the Wildcats.
Hopping for 3. That one off the mark. Chuck Fields chases down the rebound. Now here's a tie-up or a near tie-up in the corner. Fields comes back with the basketball. Cross-court pass to White. White down low to Thweet. Thweet goes off glass and in. Good ball movement there from Catholic. And Thweet gets the bucket.
And that puts Wildwood Catholic up 15-14. Now the Crusaders on an 8-0 run.
Here's St. Joe the other way. That's Blackwell dipping in. And the ball will stay with St. Joe off of the block there.
Yeah, Taz Thweet came over and helped side defense, was able to get up and block that shot, knocking it out of bounds. And that was one of the things I talked to Coach Paul Rodeo about for St. Joe before the game, was this was going to be a game of runs.
Ross sort of forcing that one, front of the rim, no good. Gets his own rebound, though, and now the ball comes down. Still a scramble for it. Ross comes back up with it, and Marcellus Ross able to finally cash in after all of that business down low.
Yeah, somehow Ross, again, the junior, he's a scorer, and they figure out ways to get that basketball. When they do, they figure out ways to put it in.
And a Thweet, good look to a slicing Caleb Fields, as Caleb Fields now with 8, and Wildwood Catholic back up by 1. Here's Ross in the corner, sized up by Charles Fields, one of the best defenders on this Wildwood Catholic team. Ross jacks up a 3, and that one is no good. Rebound down to Joe E. Taj Thweet thought he had a clean block, but it looks like they'll get him for the foul, as Joe Inwergi will go back to the free throw line. Productive game for him so far, 6 points off of the bench. He'll have a chance to add to that right here.
That foul is on Jahiel White, his second, the 6'5" sophomore. 6th team foul against Wildwood Catholic.
First one up and good. One final to pass along tonight in a rivalry game, Ocean City over Mainland, buddy, 49-48. So you talk about the landscape of the Cape Atlantic League playoffs, and Ocean City, that win certainly helps them.
Yeah, and Ocean City's they're another team that's having a very good year.
So a pair for Joe E, as they're calling him here in Hamilton, and St. Joe back on top, 18-17. As Catholic works it around to Chuck Fields. St. Joe still in this zone defense. Good ball movement again here by the Crusaders. Thweet lost it for a moment. Now double teamed in the corner. Finds Chuck Fields down low, and somehow Chuck Fields finds the hoop.
Yeah, and like you said that right. St. Joe did a good job doubling down on the baseline on Thweet. But Thweet had the presence of mind, found the streak in Chuck Fields, hit him for a layup.
So here's St. Joe. And a near turnover, but the Wildcats come back up with it. Now we have a kick ball there as the senior Kendall Blunt was having some trouble on the handle, but it'll stay with St. Joe. Now checking into the ball game is Devin Benson, another freshman who's been in and out of the starting lineup and certainly playing big minutes so far in his first season in high school.
Now Wildwood Catholic that time had a couple opportunities to double the ball, and Kendall Blunt, fortunate that they got out of that without turning it over.
Here's Ross, penetrates, another wild shot. That time Taj Thweet with the rebound, and Catholic advancing the ball up the court. Here's Charles Fields on the penetration, the reverse layup, can't get it to go, and now here's Ross ahead of the pack the other way. Marcellus Ross, count that one, and the foul.
And that's going to be the third personal foul on Jaheel White.
I was about to say he's a shooter, buddy. Shooters have to shoot. That time was a fast break opportunity, but just because Marcellus Ross missed a couple shots early doesn't mean he's going to stop.
No, absolutely not. The shooter, he's got that shooter's mentality. And again, getting out in that transition, St. Joe's an opportunity to run. They do it, and they do it well. And the end result, Ross at the line trying to finish that three-point play.
And he does, 10 points from Marcellus Ross. And now the St. Joe lead back up to 2. They led by 7 after 1. And now a 21-19 ball game, 4:35 to go in the first half. Chuck Fields with some trouble right in front of the St. Joe bench. And the call is that the ball went off of St. Joe, so Wildwood Catholic will keep it.
Now, I'm a little curious. I have White for 3 personal fouls, but St. Joe does not have the type of scoreboard that puts the player foul individually up on the board.
See if we can get some clarity on that at halftime, as now we have a whistle in the near corner here going against the Wildcats.
Number 11 from the Wildcats called
6th team foul on St. Joe, so the next one will be 1-1 for Wildwood Catholic.
And that foul on Corey Blackwell, his first, team 6th.
So Wildwood Catholic to inbound, down by 2, in front of the stage here in Hamilton. Nativity scene still up, just like Mike McGarry can't take down Christmas. Taj Thweet can take down a dunk, though, as Thweet hammers home 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Good find, good feed that time from White.
3 from the corner, no good. Rebound to St. Joe, and Taj Thweet upset because he thought he had a clean block down low, but they're going to get him for the foul, and the foul's starting to pile up for another key player for Catholic, and that's Taj Thweet.
That's Thweet's second foul. And from this angle, that looked like it was a pretty clean block. Obviously we'll be able to watch that on the replay at some point, but Taj Thweet's got to watch that reaction. I mean, there's certain officials that do not like to be shown up, and that type of reaction, that can get you a technical foul, which then becomes your 3rd personal foul, and you do not need to pile them up that way. Just being a sophomore, but you got to get those. You have to get those emotions in check.
Benson makes the first. And Catholic having trouble with technical fouls the other day against Haddonfield. 2 in that game, as Benson makes both. Should be worth noting, too, just a 2-man officiating crew here tonight. So sometimes a big physical game like this, sometimes the angles just aren't there for a 2-man crew. Here's Chuck Fields down low, off the feed from Jacob Hopping, and Charles Fields gets 2 more.
That was a great look from Hopping, and we're tied at 23.
Air ball there from Blackwell, and the rebound taken down by Hopping, tied up, though, by Joe and Wergy. Jump ball, and the arrow pointing to St. Joe. Tie ball game, 23 all. More than halfway through this second quarter here in Hamilton.
Checking in for the Crusaders, number 20.
Here's Blunt in the corner. Up top to Blackwell. Now Ross in the paint, over to Blunt for 3 on the wing, and that shot is up and good. Kendall Blunt, the senior, with his first points of the ball game to give St. Joe a 26-23 lead.
Good ball movement that time off the inbounds pass. Wildcats moved it around the perimeter well. Blunt was wide open, knocks down the 3 ball.
Jake McGonigal into the game for Catholic. Chuck Fields trying to go baseline, wanted contact, and he loses the basketball. Here's Ross for 3. Marcellus Ross knocks it down. He has 13 here in this first half, and that lead swelling again for the Wildcats, 29-23.
Well, Ross, that's his first 3 ball. He's now 1 of 6. And he has also started to pick it up a little bit. As you said, Mike, once those scorers start getting a couple easy baskets, then a couple jump shots can fall.
Chuck Fields finding a little soft spot along the baseline there. Not in the act of shooting, but 1-on-1 situation as he'll go to the line to try and convert a couple easy points here for Wildwood Catholic.
And Kendall Blunt picking up that foul. It's his first. And as you said, team's 7th, sending Charles Fields to the line. Wow.
And that ball is an air ball. So frustrating trip to the charity stripe there for Charles Fields.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he did not hit the rim on that release.
So St. Joe with the basketball, already with a 6-point lead. Here's Benson, the freshman, quickly up the court there, lays it off to Griffin, another freshman. So the freshman connection gets 2 for St. Joe. Keyshawn Griffin's first points of the ball game, 31-23 now. As it's Caleb Fields for 3. His shot no good, off the top of the backboard. And it'll go back to St. Joe. A couple subs into the game again here for Wildwood Catholic as Jaleel White checks in along with Blaine Roselle.
And now we have, again, you know, as we had said, a game of runs, and now St. Joe, the beneficiary, they're off on an 8-0 run. This game was tied at 23. They are now up 31-23. 2:31 to play here in the first half.
Here's Marcellus Ross across midcourt, poked away from behind, and Jaleel White comes up with it. Ahead to Caleb Fields, rolls off the rim. White with the rebound for a moment, but ripped away there by Keyshawn Griffin. And here come the Wildcats. Here's Ross, thought about a 3, puts it on the deck. Now to Benson in the corner. Benson slicing through, his shot won't fall. Jacob Hopping rebounds in traffic, gets it away to Caleb Fields. Fields to Roselle. Up top to Jaleel White. Down low to Capizzoli. Puts it on the deck. And they're going to get him for a travel, which I think is the right call down there, buddy. It looked like Capizzoli maybe expected a body to be behind him. Turned around, he had some room. Just didn't quite know what to do with the basketball.
He's lucky he did not get charged for an offensive foul because he extended his forearm to try and create some space and put it into the chest of the Wildcat defender. 13th turnover against the Crusaders in the first half.
So Dave DeWeese obviously with something to address at halftime there. As St. Joe works its offense, that ball was tipped a couple of times and ultimately by St. Joe, so another turnover from the Wildcats. Hasn't exactly been a clean game, buddy, either way, but this basketball going back to Wildwood Catholic.
Yeah, that's being very kind, Mike, the way you just put that. Has been sloppy to say the least.
Here's Hopping, an open look, he'll take that. And that time no good, a little bit long, but he gets his own rebound, now dips in. And good defense down low there by Keyshawn Griffin, sort of standing his ground with his arms straight up. And no call in terms of a foul on the play, but the ball goes out of bounds off of Griffin. And it'll be Roselle to trigger this one for Catholic.
1:17 to play in the first half. St. Joe's 31, Wildwood Catholic 23.
Here's Fields up top. Again, the Wildcats still in this zone look. They've really been exclusively in a zone look all half long, trapping at times. Roselle double teamed up top, gets it to Hopping. Quick spin move, now down low to Capizzoli. His shot won't go. Battling for his own rebound, and Jaleel White brings it down. Another offensive rebound for Wildwood Catholic. And here we have a foul against the Wildcats, which will send White to the line for a 1-and-1.
I have that as the 7th offensive rebound.
Checking in, number 14.
For Wildwood Catholic. And it will send, as you said, Jaleel White to the line. Both teams with 18 fouls. 56.5 seconds to play here in the first half. It's the Wildcats 31, the Crusaders 23.
So 1-and-1 here, and White misses the front end, battling for his own rebound, but St. Joe comes up with it. Now poked away from behind. Here's Chuck Fields. Over to Caleb Fields. He's fouled down low. And this will be a trip to the line for 2 as Caleb Fields fouled in the act of shooting on that trip. So Caleb Fields leading the way with 8 points so far tonight. He was really a key player, obviously night in, night out, but really the spark that put Catholic over the top against Haddonfield the other day at the Shoot Down Cancer Classic. And obviously a couple big steals in a key spot early in the second quarter. Now a chance to chip into this deficit here. He knocks down the first.
And Wildwood Catholic, not only are they turning the ball over at a high frequency, but they're not shooting well from the foul line either. So Wildwood Catholic is just really struggling in this first half, and give credit to St. Joe's.
Caleb Fields does knock down a pair, so Wildwood Catholic pulls within 6 under a minute to go. We'll see if St. Joe wants to hold for 1 as it's Ian Brown across the timeline over to Ross. Ross cross-court pass to Blunt. Now down low. That's Joe E. down there. Can't get it to go. And here's Caleb Fields the other way to Hopping. Jacob Hopping surveys the D. Looking down low for Chuck Fields. Catches and shoots in one motion. Can't get it to go.
Now he needed to come down with that and regroup.
And just into the game is Noel Gonzalez, another freshman who gets 2 on the inside. Jaleel White goes baseline, lays off for Cavazzoli, blocked by Ross. Cavazzoli with the basketball back. And we have a tie up here, and the possession arrow this time going with Wildwood Catholic. So the Crusaders 5.8 to work with on the clock as they will get the last shot of the half. Chuck Fields to inbound. Gets it into White. White dribble to his left. Hopping, deep 3. No good. Rebound comes down to 2 players, and it won't matter because there is the buzzer to end the second quarter. So at the half, buddy, 33 for St. Joe, 25 for Wildwood Catholic. Again, an undefeated Crusaders team coming in, but they are being tested here tonight on the road in Hamilton.
Yeah, and absolutely. Coach Dave DeWeese, he really could not wait to get into that locker room, even with his team inbounding the ball.
For Lower Cape May, 37-31 tonight. So as we get set here for the third quarter here in Hamilton, the Wildcats up 33-25. We talked about some of the stats there in the first half, but if you're Wildwood Catholic, what do you change? Obviously, you need to clean up the turnovers, but anything else come to your mind at this point?
Well, the big thing is, and what Coach Dave DeWeese was talking about before the game, is they got to take care of the basketball. I mean, that was one of his points, of emphasis. Take care of the ball and getting back on defense. And they didn't get back on defense. St. Joe's did a great job pushing the ball, scoring in transition, and were they going to win 50-50 balls? One of the things we saw there was times Wildwood Catholic would go up, get a defensive rebound. St. Joe took it right out of their hand. So if you're not going to win those types of battles, you're not going to win the 50-50 ball. And if you're not, you're not going to be able to get out and get back, and you're going to turn the ball over at that rate, Wildwood Catholic is going to be in trouble here in this second half. And again, a lot of credit to St. Joe's. These kids come out here and they are hungry, and boy, would they like to knock off the number 2 team in South Jersey.
And right out of the gate here, Sean Morris down low, and he's blocked there by Taj Thweet. The Wildcats will keep the basketball again. St. Joe in the home white uniforms tonight. Wildwood Catholic in the road blues as St. Joe triggers the inbound play. This is Blackwell trying to get in, finds Morris wide open down low, and the big fella, Sean Morris, for 2.
That can't happen. And how do you lose Sean Morris, 6'5"? He's got to be the tackle on the football team. How's he get that wide open down low?
Caleb Fields with an answer as he gets the friendly bounce at the other end. He now has 12.
Besides great execution on an out-of-bounds play under the basket by the Wildcats. But that's the type of mental mistakes that will keep Wildwood Catholic down and send them to their first defeat.
Demetrius Parrish off the mark from distance. Thweet with the rebound ahead to Caleb Fields. Fields dips in, nice athletic move, and he gets to the bucket for 2 more. Caleb Fields coming out fired up here in this third quarter.
And Wildwood Catholic obviously needs to get some stops. And now how will the Wildcats handle this extended pressure?
Here's Blackwell, and he's tied up there by Caleb Fields. who slams the ball down. Yeah, he's got a little extra juice coming out in this third quarter here as Catholic forces the tie up. Of course, St. Joe started the half with possession. Now it's over to Catholic.
And that's going to be a turnover because the possession arrow was in Wildwood Catholic's favor.
Again, St. Joe still in this zone look that it went with most, if not all of the first half. Poked away there on the baseline, and here's Ross. Here come the Wildcats the other way. Ross into the lane. He gets it to go, and they'll count it, plus the foul. So Marcellus Ross, 13 points in the first half. Make that 15 now, and he'll go to the line with a chance to complete the three-point play.
And that foul is going to be called on Matt Capizzoli, the 6'4" senior. That's going to be his first, team's first of the second half.
Here's Ross, free throw, rattles out. Taj Thweet grabs the rebound, and here's White ahead to Caleb Fields. Open for three, and he knocks it down. Caleb Fields, 7 quick points here in the third quarter, and it's a 6-point game. Here's Ross, back the other way quickly, down to Morris, down low, rejected by White. And now here's Chuck Fields ahead of the pack, and he lays it in.
And they're going to call a foul on that. Wow.
So Fields gets it to go, and the foul. And Charles Fields heads to the line with a chance at a three-point play. And just like that, buddy, it's a three-point game, and Charles Fields can make it a 2-point game.
And they're going to call that personal foul on number 11, Corey Blackwell. That's going to be his first. So he placed his hand in the back of Charles Fields as Fields was going up basically for an uncontested layup. But he did make contact, and, the official made the right call. Corey Blackwell not thinking clearly on that one, and it's going to give Fields an opportunity to further cut into this lead.
So a different starting lineup for Paul Rodeo Jr. to begin the third quarter than he went with to start the game, as Sean Morris opening this third quarter on the court. Keyshawn Griffin on the bench to begin the second half. And it looks like they have that sorted out, and it will be a free throw.
I guess the official that called the initial foul couldn't remember who he called the foul on, so they had to clear that up.
And now here's Chuck Fields with a chance to complete the three-point play. Flicks it up there and off the front iron, but Taj Thweet comes down with the rebound and gets the putback. So Thweet with 6, and it's a 1-point game. Parrish for 3. That won't go down. Here's Thweet. Catholic wants to move fast. Chuck Fields off the window and in, and wow, buddy.
And now Paul Rodeo is going to need a timeout.
So timeout, Wildwood Catholic, as the Fields, Caleb and Chuck have sparked the comeback here, down 33-25 at the half, just over 2 minutes in, and now Wildwood Catholic with a 1-point lead.
Yeah, Wildwood Catholic going on a 13-4 run, and needless to say, Caleb Fields with 7 points, Charles Fields with 4, to come out here, and it would be safe to say they were having a Fields day for the Crusaders.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. I can't say I liked it, but I see what you did there.
So the two Fields brothers really with a nice spark there to get their team back on top, 38 to 37, and and as Mike said at halftime, and we talked about it before the game, because Coach, talking to Coach Paul Rodeo, it's going to be a game of runs, and it's going to be who has the bigger run or the last run. And right now we see Wildwood Catholic, they come out after that halftime, and now they're on a run.
Here's Ross on the dribble, as the Wildcats are now down by 1, looking to regain the lead here. Close to a 5-second call, and he hands it off, but now a steal from Wildwood Catholic. Caleb Fields in with the left hand. Count it, and 1. So another huge bucket from Caleb Fields, and he'll get a chance to go to the line for another 3-point play.
And again, Wildwood Catholic scoring off of another turnover against the Wildcats, and Fields just showing how strong he is as he comes down, absorbs all that contact. I don't know how that ball stayed up on the rim the way it did and then was able to drop in. That's just a sweet touch.
And a veteran play, too. He felt the contact behind him. He knew his best chance for 2 in the foul was with the left hand. And that's what he was able to do, and he completes the three-point play. So 20 points for Caleb Fields. 4-point lead for Catholic, a near turnover. But Brown able to corral it. Now over to Ross. Down the lane, his floater is good. And Ross with a much-needed answer for St. Joseph.
Yeah, right there, and Ross showing his leadership ability, and again, able to get to the rim, right to the front of the rim, and lay it in to cool off this Wildwood Catholic burst of offensive firepower.
Capizzoli goes through his legs here. He's on the deck, and it's a turnover. St. Joe comes away with the basketball. That's Parrish looking to go up court, and almost picked off by White. Now Umasella down low to Ian Brown. Check that. That was Nwerji to Ian Brown. Either way, though, Brown gets 2, and it's a tie game, 41 up. Now Catholic with the basketball. It's Caleb Fields. Ross extends the defense out on him to start a 5-second count. Has to watch as he's still counting, and let's see what they call here. Looks like they're going to get the basketball going off of Ross. He can't believe it, but it'll stay with Wildwood Catholic as Devin Benson, freshman, checks in.
4:32 to play, third
41 up,
third
quarter. Where you're going with that one, 4:30 to go. As Wildwood Catholic has the basketball. Here's Caleb Fields up top to Jaleel White, hopping back into the game for the first time in the second half. Now they work it down low to Chuck Fields, and couldn't get his feet lined up down low, and a turnover as he traveled along the baseline.
Well, again, that was a great job by St. Joe, especially in their help side defense. That time, you know, Keyshawn Griffin, the freshman, recognizing, did a good job shuffling his feet. Came over, took that left baseline away, and Fields turning, not knowing what he was going to do with the ball, shuffled his feet. So that was a good defensive play there by the freshman.
Into Griffin. And Wildwood Catholic wants him to bring it across, and he's able to lay it off to Benson. Benson, quick jumper in the lane, and that one rims out. Taj Thweet down with the rebound. Hopping ahead of the pack to Chuck Fields. Floater, short, rebound, flush by Taj Thweet. And that has the Wildwood Catholic faithful fired up.
Oh, baby, that's what you call a Thweet spot.
There's Joe Nwerji in the lane. As I pause for effect after another Buddy Tarbotten pun, the only way to play that. And Nwerji will go back to the line to shoot 2 more. He was really a spark, Buddy, not a guy we talked about in the open, but 8 points off of the bench for Paul Rodeo Jr. in the first half, and really a hard worker down low.
Yeah, and you know what? The 6'4" junior, as you said, he comes in with a burst of energy, gets to the foul line, repeatedly. He went to the foul line. He had 4 free throws in the first half. He made them all to go along with 2 buckets. And Nwerji does exactly what you want to see a bench player do: come in and give you a boost.
First free throw for Joe E, as they call him here, is good. So he has 9. And now St. Joe trails by 1, and Nwerji can tie it up here if he makes the second. 4 dribbles, spin, and that shot's good. So we're all tied up again. 43 all, more than halfway through this third quarter. And here comes White across midcourt. Dumps it into Fields along the wing, back up to White. Now that pass to nobody. It was between Chuck Fields and Hopping, both sort of moving away from the basketball, but it looks like Dave DeWeese is angry at White. And either way, it's a turnover, as St. Joe will have an opportunity to retake the lead here.
And that's the 5th turnover in this quarter against Wildwood Catholic, 18th for the game.
Here's Ian Brown over to Ross. Marcellus Ross, Jr., down the lane. Gets it down low to Nwerji. His shot wild and no good, and it's Hopping with the rebound. Up to Chuck Fields. Quick shot, and that one is no good, and ripped down by the freshman Keyshawn Griffin. And now here's Ian Brown with the basketball. Brown. Pass over to Benson. Open 3 for that freshman, and his shot is off the mark, and it's Caleb Fields with the board. And now he wants to move fast. Caleb Fields slicing in, contact down low, and they're going to catch Ian Brown for sort of leaning there. Brown thought he had position, but it wasn't all the way set, and it'll be Caleb Fields back to the free throw line already with 20 points in this one. And a chance to add to that total and try to give Catholic the lead back once again.
Ian Brown, the 5'9" junior, he picks up his first third-team foul against St. Joe here in the second half.
As that one rims out there by Caleb Fields.
He knew that one was not going to stay down when it left his hand, Mike. He tried to follow, even though it was a two-shot foul. That's his first miss. He's 4 of 5 from the charity stripe.
Second one is good. Give him 21 and give the lead back to Wildwood Catholic. And now another turnover here, buddy, against St. Joe. Just a couple players there not on the same page.
Wow.
Looked like Ross and Brown.
Yeah, that is an uncontested turnover, to say the least.
Trying to move maybe a little bit too fast for their own good in that case. Either way, here goes Caleb Fields over to White.
And the fourth turnover in this quarter against the Wildcats.
Fast-moving quarter. Just 5 fouls called so far between the two teams. White thought about a 3, goes baseline, lays it off to Thweet. Some contact down low, but Thweet able to get the shot up and get it to go. He has 10. Here come the Wildcats the other way. Double teamed along the sideline there was Benson. Now here's Enwerji dipping in, can't get it to go. And the rebound comes down to Thweet. And now over to Jaleel White. White down the lane. Somehow found Chuck Fields. I'm not sure if that was a pass, buddy, but it found him either way.
Well, it's a pass now.
Give him an assist.
Well, it's not a pass, but here say it was a pass.
Ross wide open 3. Can't get it to go, though. And the floorboard down to Chuck Fields. Back to White. Catholic all of a sudden up by 5. Alley-oop! And he can't get it to go as Thweet lost the handle. Got the catch, but couldn't flush it. And now a miss on the wing there by Caleb Fields. Rebound comes down to St. Joe. Ross ahead of the pack. And he rims out. And we have a foul called. Hopping can't believe it. DeWeese 2 arms in the air. Rodeo likes the call, though. And now St. Joe will get a couple chances from the free throw line.
And that is going to be the first personal foul on Jacob Hopping, the 6'2" sophomore. His first. It's going to be the team's Wildwood Catholic second team. Check that. A little slow on the scoreboard. Third team foul against the Crusaders. Sending Ross to the line.
Hopping having a conversation with the official there about that foul called. And the first one is good for Ross. Give him 18. So a big-time leading scorer for either side right now as Ross is pacing St. Joseph with 18. Caleb Fields leading the way for Catholic with 20. Both of those guys 1,000-point scorers for their schools.
Yeah, both. Caleb did it last year as a junior.
That's right. Did it in the Cal playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. Second one no good there from Ross, so it's a 4-point deficit for St. Joe as Wildwood Catholic looking to add to its lead. Crusaders get it over to Roselle, who's back into the game. Baseline Thweet gets by one defender. Short on the shot, though. Chuck Fields with the rebound, and that won't fall. And now here's Parrish with the rebound. He's double-teamed along the baseline, and they'll get Caleb Fields for the foul on that one as Wildwood Catholic trying to force the turnover. Instead, it's a foul.
And that foul will be called on Caleb Fields. I believe it's his first, team's 4th here in the second half.
4-point deficit here for St. Joe. 48-44, Wildcats trail, just over a minute to go in the third. Parrish hounded by Hopping, and now here's a turnover as Hopping comes away with the basketball. Spin move into the lane, contact, no call. Caleb Fields with the putback. He can't get it to go, but he does draw the foul. And a good follow there by the senior Caleb Fields. You got to like the defensive effort there from Hopping, really hounding his defender, comes away with the steal. He can't finish, but Caleb Fields in to try and clean up, and he'll get 2 from the line.
Well, I'll tell you what, and you're right, Jacob Hopping doing a good job on the defensive end, really picked up the pressure, comes up with that steal, and Fields doing a great job, Caleb, following his teammate hard to the rack, coming up with the offensive rebound and the ability there. He draws that foul, knocks down the first free throw, 49-44. We're in the third quarter, 1:08 left to play in this third period.
Caleb Fields will get another. You know, you wondered, buddy, if sort of the depth of these teams was going to play a factor. Certainly not to this point, as Fields sinks another, but Catholic does not play as many players as St. Joe does, but still has a 6-point lead here in the final minute of the third quarter. Here's Gonzalez trying to get it across the timeline, and he can't. It's a turnover, and that's freshman Noel Gonzalez. Played sparingly in the first half, and he'll take another quick seat here after the turnover as Ross checks right back in.
Well, what Wildwood Catholic has done in this basketball game, they've played 8 guys. So, you can only play so many guys to begin with because you only get 5 on the floor at a time. And the athleticism, especially the Fields brothers, they're also outstanding track guys.
Caleb Fields showing off that athleticism there, but he's rejected on the inside. Now here's Ross the other way. Bounce pass over to his teammate there, Umasella, but he can't get it to go. And now numbers for Catholic. Caleb Fields can't get that sort of awkward-looking layup to go as he had to almost reverse it. And back the other way, strong is Demetrius Parrish, which, believe it or not, buddy, his first 2 of the game, it makes it a 4-point game.
And I'll tell you what, on that first shot by Caleb Fields down that end, that was a great defensive play by Keyshawn Griffin. And Griffin did a good job this next time down, too.
Steal by St. Joe, and it's saved into Umasella. 3-on-1 break, can't get the handle. Back into the middle there, Joe Nwerji gets it to go. So a run here from St. Joe to close out the third quarter. And just like that, the Wildcats make it a 2-point deficit. Catholic seemingly ready to pull away, or at least in control there for a lot of that period. Instead, the Crusaders, they do work their way back. They take the lead, but just a 2-point lead heading into the fourth.
And again, turnovers. When Wildwood Catholic appears like they've settled down a bit, quick turnovers. They turned it over 6 times in that quarter, Mike. And that gives them 19 for the game. And again, the pace, St. Joe getting it to play a little hectic, and Wildwood Catholic not reacting well. And at the end result there, instead of Wildwood Catholic going, over to their bench at the end of the period number 3, up 4 or possibly 6, they're only up 2. And St. Joe's, that possession arrow is in the Wildcats' favor. So they finish on a strong little short run to cut this lead back to 2, and they come out now with the basketball to start the fourth quarter.
A 25-point quarter there from Wildwood Catholic, matching their entire output from the first half. So even though you give up that spurt to end the quarter, you still have to feel pretty good about your team's effort there if you're Dave DeWeese. It's a 2-point lead, though, for Catholic, as they trailed by 8 at the half, now up 2 heading into the fourth.
And St. Joe also turned it over 6 times in that period, and that helped Wildwood Catholic get back into the game. They have 13 turnovers total as a team.
St. Joe gets it in here, and it's Benson starting this fourth quarter. Up top to Nwerji, now back to Benson, now Blunt, now Ross. Around a screen from Blunt, long 3 on the way, back iron, no good, long rebound out to Chuck Fields. Now he'll slow it a bit and hand off to Caleb Fields. Over to Jaleel White, the sophomore, looking for Thweet. Instead, he hangs onto the ball for the moment.
Well, again, St. Joe's in that zone. They're extending it a little bit, but they choose to stay in that 2-3 zone, Mike.
Hopping up top to Caleb Fields, now back to Hopping, left-hand dribble. Finds Fields in the lane, ducks under a defender and gets 2. That's a crafty move on the inside from Caleb Fields.
Well called, yes. Used his left hand, used his body control off the glass and knocked it down.
And a turnover from the freshman going the other way as Devin Benson was looking for Joe Nwerji in the corner. Nwerji had moved, though, and it goes out of bounds.
That was definitely a case of now you see me, now you don't. And he threw the ball where the don't was.
So the lead is 4 for Catholic, a minute into this fourth quarter here in Hamilton. Big-time Cape Atlantic League United Division showdown. First of 2 meetings between these teams this season. The second will come in North Wildwood on February 14th. Hopping, thought about a 3, now ducks in. Wild pass, and that one is out of bounds. I'm not sure if he thought that was Thweet trying to flash to the bucket. It was Charles Fields, and I know he can leap, buddy, but probably not that high.
Fields is an excellent, he's an all-South Jersey track person, especially in the long jump, but no, he wasn't going to go get that one.
Here's Blunt to Ross in traffic and gets it to go. So crafty move at the other end as Marcellus Ross brings his team within 2.
And again, good execution that time by the Wildcats.
Caleb Fields open in the corner for a moment. Passes back up top to White. Now here's Chuck Fields. Looking for Thweet that time, and it's knocked away. Turnover. Ross the other way. Ross off the window. Maybe a goaltend there. Let's see. Just the foul called for the moment. St. Joe bench pleading for a goaltend. Certainly looked like one. And the officials get together, and they'll just go with the foul at this point.
And they're going to call that foul on Jacob Hopping. The 6'2" sophomore is going to pick up his second. It's going to be the 5th team foul against St. Joe's here in the second half. And Marcellus Ross will go to the line to shoot 2.
Ross's first shot is good. He now has 21 for the game. Caleb Fields, leading scorer in the ballgame with 25. And Ross will get another. He can tie the game with this one. And it rims out. So Catholic with the rebound there. That's Taj Thweet. Still with a 1-point lead. 6 minutes to go, 4th quarter here in Hamilton. White floats a pass to Caleb Fields. In front of the Catholic bench. Back up top to White. Now other wing to Hopping. St. Joe extending that defense. It was a clean move at the time. He got ball, but then he got body as Ross came up with the ball. And then both players lunged for it. And Ross sort of cut off White there. And foul goes against Ross.
Well, that's when you see the sophomore, Jaheel White, and his wingspan, the ball was knocked free by Ross, but with Jaheel's wingspan, he was able to retain possession, causing Ross to foul.
So stays with Catholic. Again, just a 1-point lead. Dangerous pass. Chuck Fields able to haul it in, though. Now double team near the baseline, and looks like a foul. So bailed out along the baseline there as Chuck Fields working hard to evade the double team and pays off with a foul against St. Joe.
And they're going to call that one, again, Marcellus Ross. That's 2 quick fouls on the 6'3" junior. He only has 2 personal fouls, but that's the 16th foul against the Wildcats, so the Crusaders will be shooting the rest of the way.
Here's Hopping on the inside, out to White. Thought about a 3. Now goes to Caleb Fields in the lane. Hand off to Thweet. Man, that's a nice finish on the inside there from Thweet for 2. And now here's Ross the other way. Wild layup. And they're going to get a foul against Wildwood Catholic there as they'll get Thweet with the block.
And Taz Thweet's going to pick up his 3rd personal foul. And Wildwood Catholic's coaching staff, Coach Dave DeWeese, is a little bewildered that was not a offensive foul.
The ever popular block charge. Somewhere
Yeah.
Brian Kniff is smiling about that one.
Absolutely. The old 50-50 call. 50% are going to be happy, 50% aren't.
St. Joe happy about that as Ross hits the first. He has 22 and his team back within 2. As Parrish checks back into the ball game. Quiet night so far for Demetrius Parrish. Just 2 points on the game.
As we said in the pregame, he comes into tonight's contest averaging 9 a game.
Second one also good for Ross to give him 23, and it's back to a 1-point game with 5:15 to go here in the 4th. Wildwood Catholic on top with the basketball. White again triggers the offense from up top. Zone defense here still, and trapping from St. Joe as Ross taps it out of bounds, pleading for the call, but it'll stay with Wildwood Catholic. And Hopping to inbound for the Crusaders. Goes into the backcourt to White. Jaleel White across the timeline over to Caleb Fields. Checked by Blackwell. Nice look to Hopping in the lane. Hopping
nice
dips
lock.
in. He's an outside shooter, but nice job penetrating on that to get 2.
And a nice switch over from his right hand to his left hand and using the glass.
And a steal by Chuck Fields at the other end. Good defense from Charles Fields. Now Catholic with a 3-point lead in the basketball. Here's White. A lot of contact up top. Shaken up on the play is Blackwell as play continues for a moment around him. It looks like he bumped with Hopping. Hopping limping as well. The 2 may have banged knees. As Hopping trying to shake it off. He's in better shape right now than Blackwell is, who's down on the court.
Well, that was incidental contact. Both Hopping and Blackwell, they kind of tripped into each other and banged their upper bodies. Obviously, a little contact to the head for both of them. Both players, well, Hopping came away limping, and Benson ended up, hitting the hardwood. But he will get up and walk over to the bench, and here comes Hopping out to shake his hand and make sure, he's okay. Very good sign right there of sportsmanship, and that was totally, accidental.
Yeah, as you said, incidental contact. It was sort of away from the ball, and good sign to see Blackwell get up and walk over, albeit gingerly, to the bench. So here's St. Joe, down 3, 4.5 to go, fourth quarter. Ross for 3. That one is short. Rebound poked around a little bit, and let's see, looks like Wildwood Catholic comes up with it. That's Charles Fields doing more of that dirty work down low. Catholic with the basketball, and now Dave DeWeese wants a timeout as he wants to talk game plan here with his team up by 3, 4:11 to go. Wildwood Catholic on top, 56-53.
Well, and again, here in this fourth quarter, Mike, turnovers continue to haunt both teams. Each team has made a run at each other, and then when you think the game's going to settle down, all of a sudden it starts to implode a little bit, and it's happening both ways. Teams, and we're not necessarily saying, too, that, these are defensive pressure type of turnovers. Some of them are just lack of thinking, so to speak. They're unforced turnovers, and, right now it's going to be, with 4 minutes, 11 seconds left to play in this game, Wildwood Catholic up 56-53. The team, I'm going to point out the obvious, the team that makes the less mistakes is going to have a very good opportunity to win.
I think you're right about that, buddy, and we should mention again, this game is big for a number of reasons. Number one, first place in the Cape Atlantic League United Division, obviously on the line. Wildwood Catholic undefeated so far in that respect, but also, as we talked with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City at the half, a lot of stipulations here for the South Jersey non-public B playoffs, as these two teams both figure to be pretty high seeds. Wildwood Catholic in really good shape in that respect, and St. Joe can boost its stock with a win tonight. So here we go out of the timeout. Wildwood Catholic with the basketball. Caleb Fields almost lost it in the high post, gets it up top to White. Now to Charles, back to Caleb. Short jumper is good. So after the near miscue, they work it around quickly, and Caleb Fields gets 2.
And Wildwood Catholic did a good job coming out of that timeout, getting the shot that they wanted. That Coach DeWeese drew up during the timeout, and the end result was Caleb Fields just inside the foul line, right side, and he knocks down that little jump shot. That last foul right there was called on number 23, Charles Fields. I believe that's his second, team's 7th. So Marcellus Ross at the line to shoot a 1-and-1.
Ross knocks down the first. And he'll get another one here. Ross now with 24 in the ball game. Caleb Fields with 27 for Catholic.
He is now 7 for 11 from the foul line.
Second one also good. Give Ross 25 and brings his team back within one possession, 58-55. 3:47 to go, fourth quarter. Capizzoli double team there, gets through it, but now a turnover. He's still fighting for the ball on the ground. Matt Capizzoli, what hustle there, buddy, as he at least forces a tie up and the arrow in the favor of the Crusaders.
Yeah, Capizzoli, as you recall, got double teamed. He did a good step through, strong with the ball, but then he didn't find someone to get rid of the ball to immediately, and he tried to keep it, and then he ended up going to the floor. Ball came loose, and he was fortunate to get that jump ball so his team would retain possession.
Here's Caleb Fields probing the defense there, and they're going to get him for a travel. And DeWeese is obviously not happy about that.
That was not a travel. He came to a jump stop and did not walk, but nonetheless, that's what the man in stripes called.
Yeah, the Wildwood Catholic bench apoplectic about that call. Here's Blackwell, shaken up a minute ago, that time strong to the hoop, but can't get it to go. Charles Fields in the corner, now back up top to the little White. White hangs, finds Fields along the baseline. Batted at, back out to White. 3:10 to go. Caleb Fields, again operating sort of in that high post area. Soft spot of that zone defense. Chuck Fields on the wing. Up top to White. Over to Charles Fields again. He penetrates, looking for Thweet down low. Batted around. Caleb Fields with the basketball.
Wow,
there was contact there. Hopping comes down with it. Floater, no good. Put back, no good. Still battling for it. And we have a tie-up, and this time it's going back to St. Joe. So it's been tough sledding for Taj Thweet on the inside in terms of the offense, buddy. They've had a hard time getting him the basketball down low. He does have 12 points. He's got some putbacks, things of that nature, but St. Joe doing a nice job sort of trying to take him away on the low block.
Absolutely, and they're playing physical down low inside, and they're getting body on them, and they're doing it, the right way.
And look at a foul on that one. Wildwood Catholic wanting a walk as Keyshawn Griffin was able to slip around Thweet, catch the basketball, and drive. Sort of a bang-bang call, and in the end it's a foul. So it'll be the freshman in a big spot right here. Keyshawn Griffin, just 2 points tonight, but his team is down by 3 with 2.5 to go here in the fourth.
And Keyshawn Griffin, even though he's got 2 points, he's got 8 rebounds.
His first shot off the mark, but St. Joe tracks down the rebound. That was Parrish. Back into Griffin, and that time it was a walk. So a turnover against St. Joe, and a big one here in a key spot as they trail by 3, and Wildwood Catholic will have the ball right back.
2:30 to go, and as Mike just said, it is a 3-point game, 58-55. Wildwood Catholic on top.
Hopping on the floor for Catholic plus the 4 starters. Charles Fields penetrates, but his shot rims out. And the rebound comes down to the Wildcats of St. Joe. Ross had to go off his face, but he caught it. Reverse layup, no good. And Thweet comes down with the board. Ross sort of pinching his nose there as that ball hit his face on the catch. He was lucky he was able to stay with it. No foul called there. Instead it's Caleb to Charles, but his shot is long. And now numbers the other way for St. Joe. Parrish with the left. Long. Rebound poked at and back out to Chuck Fields. Frantic pace right now. Alley-oop. And look out. He was looking for Taj Thweet. Undercut a little bit there by Griffin. Not a dirty play again, as I don't think Griffin was ready for the elevation that Thweet was about to get above him.
No, and absolutely, and that's just the case where the freshman was trying to make a defensive play, and that was just effort. There was no intent there. And the bottom line is he actually caught Thweet as Thweet landed on top of him.
Could have been a lot scarier than it was. 2-shot foul there on the play as some of the players were confused as Thweet missing the first.
Yeah, that's just typical of the type of game we've watched here tonight.
It's been a good one. It's been sloppy at times,
It's
but
been it's been competitive.
it's been competitive. Good way to put it. And 2 misses there from Taj Thweet, so still just a 3-point deficit for St. Joe, as there's just a minute and a half to work with for the Wildcats. Here's Blackwell. Again, shaken up a moment ago. This time he drives to his left. And we have a traveling call, as he was sort of tied up there as he drove, buddy. Probably the right call there, too. At the very least, he had to call a jump ball. As it turns out, they call it travel.
Yeah, and, obviously I'm going to say it was the right call because Coach Paul Rodeo and none of his staff jumped up in protest. So we're but it ends up being a turnover, an inopportune time.
Huge possession here for Wildwood Catholic, which also wants to take some air out of the ball, and I'm sure that's what Dave DeWeese is going to talk about right now as DeWeese calls timeout, 1:12 to go. His team undefeated on the road, up by 3. It's a battle, though. Crusaders on top of the Wildcats right now, 58-55.
And right now we'll give a quick shout out to the Jet family. We got Joe and Katie in Utah. They're going to college at Brigham Young University. Sister Mary's in Kansas, and Brother Billy's down in North Carolina. I think I got that geographical lineup right, but I know I got the names of the kids right. They're all Wildwood Catholic graduates, and they all tune in and watch or listen to every broadcast that we do concerning Wildwood Catholic basketball. So a big shout out to the Jet family, and we thank you for tuning in.
Another score coming in here, buddy. Lower Cape May, 53-52 over Holy Spirit. Pat Holden Late jumper with 10 seconds to go wins it for Lower Cape May. So another competitive game here. There's been a number of them all across the Cape Atlantic League tonight.
Yeah, and absolutely, and we talked about that. Did we hear a score yet on Pleasantville Middle Township?
I know it was tied late. Haven't had a chance to check since, but it was tied up. Low-scoring game, too, in the 40s late, so we'll try to get back to that one in a moment. Right now, just over a minute to go, Wildwood Catholic out of the timeout. Hopping, playing catch with White. Now it's White's turn. St. Joe extending the D a little bit. Have to think about fouling here at some point. Under a minute to go now. Caleb Fields, yep. Back out to Jaleel White and now to Fields. Contact there, no call. Over to White, over to Hopping. Back to Fields. Spins as St. Joe trying to trap for now. At some point, though, they will have to foul. And there's a foul, and that will send Caleb Fields to the line as Joe Nwerji gets him on the arm. So Caleb Fields, a big free throw right here. If he can make it a big 2 free throws to make it a 2-possession game. Yes,
and 58-55. And Joe Nwerji, he picks up his second personal foul. The 6'4" junior, as Mike said, having a big game off the bench for Coach Paul Rodeo and the Wildcats.
First one good from Caleb Fields. He closes it on 30 points, has 28 right now.
He is 8 of 9 from the foul line, Mike. So needless to say, if there's a player Coach Dave DeWeese wants to have the ball in his hands right now, it would be Caleb.
Second one also good. Huge free throws there from Caleb Fields. And it's a 2-possession game. St. Joe has to hurry. Down by 5, 30 seconds to go. Benson, the freshman, dips in. His shot is short. Benson gets his own rebound, but he saves it to the St. Joe student section. That ball is out of bounds. Possession to Wildwood Catholic, and now the Wildcats really have to foul right away here, buddy.
Yes, obviously time dwindling down, 24.6 seconds. And give the little freshman Benson some credit there. Made a good, strong move to the basket, got off a good shot, and then he went hard for his offensive rebound and almost came up with it.
Can't knock the effort there. It's been all effort from Caleb Fields tonight. As he'll go back to the free throw line. St. Joe does foul him quickly.
And Corey Blackwell gets called for that foul, the 6'2" junior. And that will be his 5th personal foul. So he has reached his quota and will be subbed for as he needs to leave the basketball game. 60-55, Caleb Fields back on the line. The 6'2" senior heading to Bowling Green University.
Another 1-on-1 situation, and he makes the front end.
On a basketball scholarship.
30 points tonight.
10 for 11 from the foul line.
That'll certainly get it done. This is a Wildwood Catholic team that's 11-0 coming in and battle-tested. Number of big wins. Teaneck, Lenape, Haddonfield. A lot of the top teams not only in South Jersey but in the state. 62-55 now. St. Joe really has to hurry. Benson. Wildcats almost need a shot right now. Ross trying to jack one up. He gets fouled. And that's Thweet.
That was not a good decision by Taj Thweet.
Yeah, 3-shot foul. We'll see. May not matter at this point. 12.6 to go, but certainly keeps the Wildcats alive for the moment.
Absolutely. And give Marcellus Ross, again, the scoring mentality of Ross, the junior. He saw an opportunity to draw some contact and get himself to the foul line beyond the arc. So Marcellus Ross, you can only say as a coach for Wildwood Catholic, oh no. But guess what? Marcellus Ross knocks down that first free throw. Just another heads-up play.
Back to a 2-possession game now. St. Joe down by 6. Second free throw also good. Ross climbing the point total. He has 27.
And we do have a score finally that Pleasantville nipped Middle Township 50-49 on a basket with 22 seconds to play. So Pleasantville travels down the courthouse and gets a big win.
Big 3 free throws there from Marcellus Ross. Give him 28, and it's back to a 4-point game. Yeah, buddy, you're right. That's a big win from Pleasantville because those are a couple teams trying to maybe jockey for those at-large bids to the Cape Atlantic League tournament. And a win like that certainly goes a long way, as I get the thumbs up from Mike McGarry,
Yeah,
who basically tells the Cape Atlantic League Committee who's getting in and who's not.
Well, I mean, it's why you have to read the Atlantic City Press. Absolutely. I mean, how else would they be able to well, we do question a lot of decisions they make, but we'll leave that for another time.
62-58 here. Crusaders on top of the Wildcats. Mike Frankel, Buddy Tarbot, courtside here. The Ulmer's Appliance Game of the Week. Matt Ulmer is applying live video for this big-time matchup. So many big games across the Cape Atlantic League and South Jersey tonight. This obviously the biggest one for supremacy in the Cal United.
Well, that's why we're here.
That's right. We only do the big games. Big game buddy. That's what they call them. So still two-possession game.
Touch that one, but
still
anyway.
Two-possession game here. And obviously, either way, St. Joe is going to have to get a foul. The question is, who do you foul? Because Caleb Fields has been lights out from the line. You try to keep the ball out of his hands, obviously. Easier said than done.
Caleb Fields is 11 for 12. The rest of the Wildwood Catholic team is 1 for 8. So anyone not wearing number 3, I'm fouling.
So you triple team him, I guess, if you're St. Joe. Let's see how they play it. And they get it to him somehow. So you'd really think they have to keep the ball out of his hands. But again, easier said than done, as he knows how to get open, and he catches that ball with 11.6 to go. He'll walk back to the free throw line to shoot 1 and 1, as that was the 9th team foul. Nope, 10th, so we'll get 2.
And that's, you know, again, well put, Mike, because he does know how to get open. And he is so quick and such a good athlete, and he's got a great set of hands.
And he continues his streak at the line, knocks down another. Give him 32, now a 5-point lead for Wildwood Catholic, as Caleb Fields tries to put this game on ice. Either way, it'll still be a 2-possession game. St. Joe needs to get something going quickly the other way. Second free throw is good. 33 for Caleb Fields. Here goes Ross. Got to get a 3 off soon. Ross, almost a travel there. His shot won't fall. Jaleel White catches the rebound, and that should just about do it here, buddy. With 4.5 seconds to go, we'll walk to the other end, and Jaleel White will shoot 2 as Wildwood Catholic puts the finishing touches on an impressive victory on the road here tonight against St. Joe in Hamilton.
Well, they were down 33-25 at the half, and you know it was a very, very miserable first half for Coach Dave DeWeese and his squad, turning the ball over 13 times, not shooting it very well. And for them to come out with that quick run that they did to start the third quarter to get back into the game, and then it basically stayed this way. You know, it stayed nip and tuck. It was a game of shorter runs the rest of the way.
White hits both and comes up with a steal to seal this one up, and that'll do it. 66-58 the final. Wildwood Catholic with the come-from-behind victory on the road at St. Joe to stay undefeated, 12-0 now on the season. St. Joe falls to 10-3. More importantly, buddy, in the Cape Atlantic League United Conference, Wildwood Catholic now 5-0, creating some separation as St. Joe falls to 3-2. You factor in the power points they're going to gain in South Jersey non-public B, and just a huge win any way you slice it tonight in the Cape Atlantic League.
Well, you know what, and that's what you're talking about, Wildwood Catholic getting that separation too within the United Division. You know, as St. Joe's now falls to 3-2, Pleasantville, by beating Middle Township, they jumped up to 3-2. Middle falls down to 2-3. Cape May Tech had a non-league game tonight, so that was irrelevant. They're 2-3. Buna 0-6. So now there is that separation. Wildwood Catholic, as you said, will play. They will host St. Joe's on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, and for those out there that are not with a calendar. And that will also be a very, very, you know, a big night, big win, because Wildwood Catholic wants to continue to march on. Obviously, by that point, the seedings and whatnot will be set for non-public B, but it's still marching on and trying to keep that momentum going forward.
Some of the leading scorers here tonight. Caleb Fields obviously leading the way for Wildwood Catholic, a huge spark to start that second half. He finishes with a game-high 33 points for Wildwood Catholic. Taj Thweet chipping in with 12, Charles Fields with 10. And then for St. Joe, another big-time scorer as Marcellus Ross goes for 28. Joe Nwerji, 12 off of the bench, but not much help elsewhere as the next leading scorer had just 3 points. A lot of scorers for St. Joe, but just those two guys really putting most of the points together.
And, and again, we talked about that in the pregame where St. Joe's does have some balance after the first two guys. Who's going to be that third and fourth guy to step it up? And, tonight they didn't get that extra spurt that they needed. And Wildwood Catholic, on the other hand, with the way Caleb Fields just really, really, especially in that second half, especially to start that third quarter, way he came out on fire. And you had mentioned it, his defensive effort down here on a couple of different times when he was going and came up with loose balls or a steal. He won that 50-50 ball that we talked about at halftime. And bang, the team fed off that energy. And that is true leadership. And that's why Caleb Fields, the 6'2" senior, is going Division I to Bowling Green.
You're absolutely right, buddy. Any parting thoughts or any parting hellos that maybe we didn't get to tonight in the broadcast? Just your overall takeaway from this one. Obviously, we talked about it. It creates separation for Wildwood Catholic, but it's just another example of this Catholic team playing a tough schedule and coming away, finding a way, grinding out a win.
Well, and absolutely. And Coach Paul Rodeo, hats off to him and his Wildcat squad because, after that loss they suffered up here at the Middle Township, they have rebounded nicely and they've put some nice wins together. Monday night they had a great road win going down to Irma and knocking off Lower Cape May, and Lower proved that again tonight by their victory over Holy Spirit. That team's now